So what'd you decide upon in terms of the idea? Because you weren't exactly set yet for an idea. So what were you thinking about?
What I was thinking was doing sort of like a quick reference or like a basic to color theory. So which is 1-2 quick sentences on, what is subtractive and additive color and color harmonies and just, small information that one might need.
What would you do for the main image, like a hero type image, to draw interest?
I was thinking of doing a color picker, but I know it sounds like basic, like not something you could do very artistically, but I was thinking of having like the ramen sample that you showed us.
Right.
You know how they incorporated like the noodle as the font or like certain little details that tie the whole.
Okay. So what detail would that be then that you would be using with a color picker? Like, when you say color picker, are you talking about like the eyedropper or just
like the eyedropper icon sort of thing? And I wanted to do something with like the header where it's sort of like filling it with color.
I mean, you could do the eyedropper, and then coming out of the eyedropper is like a swirl of color, and then it kind of forms the title for the poster, kind of like the way the ramen noodles worked.
Yeah.
Because in that ramen noodles poster, it was a bowl of noodles, and then the name ramen was actually like made out of a noodle.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an idea. Yeah, think like that. I mean, anything that has some sort of color connotation, and then you take the idea behind that thing that represents the color type of ideas that you're presenting, and then transform it and have it morph into something. So like you could have maybe a actual color palette like an artist uses, and maybe there's a paintbrush, and maybe the paintbrush points to something. So, or maybe you have paint cans, or the idea with the prism too. I think that's another idea.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give you a bunch of ideas. So you'd have that thing, maybe the light from the prism somehow bounces off of the edges of the poster and it forms into the title in some ways. Or maybe each letter in the title is one letter in the spectrum. So color theory, the C is red and the O is orange and the L is yellow, so Roy G. Biv kind of creates a rainbow effect.
Yeah, I wanted the title to be really like a standout. So I wanted to work on that.
Yeah, there's a lot you could play with that. One fun thing to do is, let me open up Illustrator. You could maybe overlap words and then have them slightly offset from one another, and then you do use the Pathfinder, and then you fill each section with like a different color. Like here. So let me just reset everything here. Another idea is, let's say you even took like the color theme but made it into like a 3D box.
Yeah.
And projected everything. So
would I use that with like the perspective tool on Illustrator to like facilitate that?
Yeah, like if I took this and drew a box like that, and then go into Effect and go into 3D and go into Extrude and Bevel, and you see something, and then just click on Preview
I
here.
can't see your screen. It's not shared.
Oh, sorry. Oh my
It's
gosh, how embarrassing. I'm sorry. Hold on. Which one is it? 2. Okay. I'm sorry. Here,
okay.
let me go back. So let's say I had the color theme box open, so I just drew a rectangle that was roughly the same size. Then you go into Effect and you go into 3D and you use the Extrude and Bevel and turn on Preview, and then maybe I'll just kind of adjust it.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's coming out this way. And with this, if you play with the shading, you can, let's say I say diffuse, and you should be able to, let's see, you should be able to play with the lighting. Yeah, go into more options. There you go. I knew it was there. So if you play with the lighting on this,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually click here and it adds more lights. It should add more lights. Oh, you click the piece of paper, it adds more lights. So if you have like a light at the bottom, let's say, and you can give the light a color. So you go to custom. So that way, see how I went into custom? Because I want to get the edges that kind of stand out.
Yeah.
So I made one red, and so the front doesn't matter. And then you hit OK. And then what you can do with this, but you could draw this too and maybe give it that style where it's hand drawn.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun. But you could take this as well, and I can do a quick screen grab of this. So I'm just gonna use my snipping tool, and
that's my favorite tool.
Yeah, it's nice. I like it better on a Mac because it's faster. Because here I always have to open up the snipping tool and then click new. But on a Mac, you just hit Option Command 4, or you do an Option Command Shift 4, and it'll actually copy it and then let you paste it. But here you can just do this and then copy this with the snipping tool and then go back in Illustrator and paste it. And then once it's here, all my windows are kind of messed up. So now I have to just reset this workspace. So do that. And then you can go into your, let's see. You go into your scale, but you use here. You want to use this type of scale. So when you click on the free transform tool, select one of these over here so you can scale it in perspective. So let me see. And actually, this is, I think, go back here.
You can wrap it, like the image, wrap it on the actual box itself. I know you could do it with text, but I don't know if you could do it.
I think if you go back into the 3D tool, let's see if you can do that. Oh yeah, map art. So I think with this here, let's try this now. So I think let me figure this out. If you go into, I think you have to make it into a symbol, but I don't know if you can make a bitmap artwork into a symbol. Let's say color wheel. Yeah, so it's right here. So now it's a symbol. So I can actually drag more of these out. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
Do you not see it? It's, I'll make it bigger. Oh, that's as big as it gets in this view. Right here is the color wheel.
Oh, okay.
So it's right there because I can drag more of these out as symbols, right? But now I think if I go back into effect, extrude and bevel, preview. Oh, look, you don't even have to map it. If I do an extrude and bevel on the bitmap, it works just like that.
Okay.
So I guess you can do it like that. Yeah, so that could be your like hero image if you wanted to. Or you could even probably cut out the circle on the color wheel, or maybe even create your own type of color wheel using that. But if I draw a circle on top of this and then select the circle and the bitmap artwork and hit Command or Control 7, that creates your clipping mask. And then you could probably go back up here now and do the same thing with extrude and bevel. So that's another, you know,
Oh, okay.
doing something like that, which is interesting. Yeah, so, and then I was saying with text though, if you say like, if you type out color theory, sorry, misspelling it, bad typing. But if you type out color theory here, and then use a like a font that has a boldness to it and maybe a roundness to it to make it kind of interesting. So I will like go and use, let's see if I have, usually like one of the fonts I use for something like this is VAG rounded. But I have this interesting font. Let me see if I can find it. I had a nice rounded font at one point, not active. Let's see. It was like this bubbly font. I'm not going to be able to find it under pressure like this, but I don't want to use the font that I always use either. I don't want to use Bungee. I always use Bungee. Let me. I'm just going to use this font here. Okay, so so what I was saying is you take your type and then you convert to outlines, and then you take this and you like offset it. So I'm just hitting Alt and dragging. So you kind of offset it a little bit, and then you get them where they overlap, and then go into Pathfinder and pick divide. And then now you kind of have these pieces to play with.
Yeah.
And then go to Object, Expand. And you might have to expand and ungroup it too. So now they're separate. And then you can, I'm going to grab this. and use my eyedropper to color in different pieces. And then you can color in the overlaps too with like a contrasting color. So I'm just
How many
using,
layers in each letter?
well, here, if you go into your layers, there's one layer set up. See, there's one layer, and I'll make the layers big, but there's lots of sub layers. So the thing to remember about Illustrator layers is every single object that you create goes on its own sub layer. So even though I have one layer here, and I'm going to make it bigger, make it.
But I meant on each letter, how many like layers there are? Two? Only two?
Well, technically there's just one. I mean, because I used the Pathfinder to cut them into pieces. See how I have all these pieces? Like look at my R, how that's like cut up. I'm going to hit Shift and kind of select like random pieces so you can kind of see. And then hit the eyedropper tool. But you see how I have all these different pieces now? It's kind of, it's just like a fun way to design a multicolored font, typography, type headline. Use. Yeah, it's just an interesting effect. You can have like, if once you finish it, like the optical effect can be pretty cool. But you don't have to do this. I'm just giving you this example.
No, it's giving me ideas. Thank you, though. It looks really cool. So
Yeah, it just has this cool kind of like simultaneous contrast effect. And
yeah.
it has it's kind of dimensional, but at the same time, it's flat. So optically, it's kind of interesting, you know, just to do stuff like this. Oops. So anyways, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that could be the start of something.
Yeah.
But,
Thank you. That was really helpful.
yeah. But come up with your own idea, you know, whatever you come up with, trying to inspire you. So, all right. Well, that sounds good. So try to do the sketch though too, and then send it to me anytime. You know, it's like, you know, if you want to send it to me tomorrow or whatever, so I can still give you some suggestions as you go forward with this. So let's see, who else then? Who else has something to share? Let's look here. So I'm going to look at some different ones here. Okay, hold on one second. Copy image. So I'm going to create a new file here in Illustrator. So this is Zoe. So this is yours. So explain what your concept is.
So it's like a travel infographic poster. So I put like all of the landmarks, like all the essential food, like for foreigners, so they know what to visit. Yeah, in the city.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna like repositions all like the little image, so I can put like description right next to it, just like brief sentences.
Oh, yeah. Where those little wavy lines are, those are your sentences?
Yeah.
So, okay. Let me see. Yeah, so there's a lot of little symbols in here. So are you going to draw out each of these things as symbols?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of little, it's like busy work, creating all these little symbols. But the body's kind of is pretty cool. The way you have the body set up. I kind of like the fact that you don't have hands. Just this like really simple kind of, if you draw this.
Yeah, so like all the little image can be more like focus.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of, you do like a really quick job here with the curvature tool. Yeah, I mean, the main focus can be all these little icons that you create for it.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like if I should make the human figure like smaller,
I would make the human figure bigger.
bigger.
Yeah, have it fill up, because you can overlap things with all these little icons that you create. You know, so the human figure can really fill up the space. So I think you could, and then what you could do is you could use transparency on the figure and like the devices that you're using to point into the figure. So for example, this should be, I should take this now and make sure this figure is in its own layer, and I'm locking the sketch. Just gonna round everything. And so let's say, I'm just kind of fixing the head. Let me do that. Let me go here and just really quick kind of do like a really simple figure. I'm doing it really fast. And then so let's see, you had this figure and oops. And then you have these arrows coming in. So the arrows, you can just use, when you go use go into stroke, stroke here, options, and add a arrow head at the end, like that. And then you can go into expand. Let's see.
Where did you get the arrow from?
I went into stroke and you go into options. So I'll do it again. So you go into window, stroke, and here's the stroke palette. Click on your options, and then your arrowheads are down here. So if you have any type of line, the first box represents the beginning, the end point of the arrow, and the second box is the, well, I should say the second box is the end point, and the first box is the beginning point. So if I click on arrowhead there, I get the arrow. And then what I was going to do is go to expand appearance, and then actually go into expand here and expand the stroke. And actually, I don't need to do that. I would like to use this tool here, the width tool, and just kind of play with the arrow just to make an interesting arrow. Instead of having like arrows that are just like one thickness, I like to sometimes have these cartoony type arrows, and then maybe even do this. Then expand it more like that. I think last thing I'll do is go to ungroup here, just move that arrow head. And then you can go, then you can actually, after I do that, then expand it. And then take both pieces and go into Pathfinder and combine them. And then what I was saying with the arrows is, you know, make them a certain color, maybe the color, you know, whatever your colors you're using.
Mm-hmm.
And then go in the window and go into transparency. And then go into show options here. And then maybe just play with the opacity. So you can have things overlapping like that. You know, so if you make this body big and then.
I could put like a lot of things in it.
Yeah, you can make things overlap more in the design, and then you can maybe add more to it. So I think that would be kind of interesting. But yeah, I like how you don't have the hands there. So, but I would still try to fill the body with a color. I think it's just nice to have that look where you have some sort of transparency on the arrows.
Yeah, I think that's cool too.
And the only reason I like to do arrows like this is because I think they're just more interesting than having a regular straight line arrow. I'd like to give the arrows like a certain style. I think there's just different looking, you know, when you look at those arrows.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got a lot of work to do drawing out these little symbols, but I think once you start doing that, it should go pretty quickly. I would just make sure too that when you're doing this, really separate your layers. You know, make sure your layers are nicely separated. It'll just make it easier to select things.
Okay.
So, all right, cool. That should be a fun idea.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, so let's see. Who else? Let's see here.
Did you see mine?
Yeah, so let's see. Okay, Randa's, let's see yours. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy it. And okay, so Randa, what is your idea going to be?
It's like there is new thing that they teach you if you have like vegetables at home, instead of throwing them away, you can replant them. And this is teaching them how to replant stuff that you already have at home, and it becomes like a plant all over again. It can make more of the kind.
Oh, okay. So you'll have a lot of
I already started on this one, the one you're pointing to, the garlic.
Oh, okay.
It looked nice.
Oh, okay. So for this, you can start your layout too by creating these boxes and just get it all set up. So here I'm going to go into the template.
Okay.
Lock it.
Yeah, do that again. What did you do?
So here's the background image that you're using as your template to guide basically the look and feel of what you want. I pasted it into Illustrator, so it's the first layer. You just double click, and then it opens up layer options, and then you click on dim images, so it dims it, and then make sure you lock it. Lock it right away, and then create your layer. So I'm going to click on Control R, Command R for my rulers, and then maybe draw out my rulers here for this first set of boxes that you want. And then I'll hit M for my rectangle tool, and I'll draw out that first box. And then I'll make sure that it is set up with a black stroke and no fill. And I'll make it a little bit thicker, so increasing the stroke width. And then for the dash, you know how you have these dashes? If you want to set up like that, again, you go into the stroke window, stroke palette here, and then click on dash line, and that's going to give you your dashes.
Perfect.
And then you may, I always like to play with the numbers. You know, I never usually like the default. So the dash is the amount of how the first dash here, that's how wide each individual dash is. And then you can control the gap as well. So if I add a number here, say 3 points, it will create only 3 points between each one. So you can kind of play with these numbers to
so these are the only two I can play with, the dash and the gap. The gap is in between the space.
Yeah. There's see how there's more options here. So you can have, if you add another number in here, it kind of variates the way the dash is set up. But I wouldn't play with those extra ones. I would just stick to these first two. And you know, come up with something that you like. Yeah, and then set it up. And then you can grab your first one, and I'm Option Shift dragging. And then you can hit Command D 2 times to repeat them, and then grab all of them on that top row, and then go up into your control bar up here and distribute them. So if you click on this horizontal distribute center, and actually
this is to give them the space, like equal space.
Yeah. See this first box here though?
Yeah.
Align it to Artboard. So you click on Align to Artboard, and then click on Distribute. And actually, let me see.
It's fine if there. Oh no, there is more. There should be more each row.
Yeah, if you actually go in the window and go into Align and bring up the Align palette here, there's actually more options. And what you can do is you go to Show Options. It's already there. And then Align to Artboard, but click on this. Actually, let me see. There should be. Click on this Align to Key Object, and because you don't want it all the way up to the edge.
Yeah.
And if, let's see if I add this spacing. Let me kind of.
Maybe the paper size is different than the.
Well, actually, what you want to do, select all of them, keep Align to Selection turned on, and then hit Distribute, and it distributes them equally. And then you can group them, and then select the group, and then you go to Align to Artboard.
How do you group them? How do you group them?
Command G just Command G.
Oh, or window group.
Or you can go to
Object group. Okay.
Group.
Mm.
And then once you have them all grouped,
Mm-hmm.
then you can go into align to artboard and then click on this alignment here,
Mm-hmm.
and it should align it to the center. So now it's aligned to the center of the artboard.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then
And I can go down one row.
Yeah, and then what I do after I do that is then I select them all here,
Mm-hmm.
the group, and then again, Option Shift or Alt Shift drag, drag them down,
Mm-hmm.
and there's my second group.
Perfect.
So, that's one layer, and then I would create a new layer, and that layer should just be for your typography,
Mm-hmm.
or even just for your headline.
Mm-hmm.
You may want to double click, like you can call this headline,
Mm-hmm.
double click on layer 2, call it boxes, and then create another layer for your artwork, and then maybe one more layer for all the text that goes inside the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have to focus mostly on creating your artwork, creating each plant as a little illustration.
And I can trace. It's okay to trace, right?
Yeah, you can trace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing you could do too is if you wanted to, for something like this, you could draw it by hand and then bring it into Illustrator and use your, the trace, the vectorize function on the illustration, if you wanted to do it like that. So here, like, just draw them by hand, but draw them like with like for some of these too, you may want to do this.
Well, I'm afraid if I want to put them back on, then it's not going to align exactly the same way it was.
Well, no, you're just drawing the little plant icons, like,
Oh, and then put them back in a box, like put them there.
well, here. So, like, here is your, I don't know what this one is going to be. Let's say this is your
Bowl. It's a bowl.
potato.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has all the eyes of the potato. That's what sprouts. Just draw it, and then I'd probably do it with like a thicker marker though.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, this is like a calligraphy marker. Gotta find a better one. Here. Oh, this is better. Just with a thick line, because it's easier to do the image trace if the line is already nice and thick. But this could become your this is just faster.
Mm-hmm.
And then take this. Oops. So you draw each one like this, and let me even it up. And then I'm gonna go into my snipping tool and select this. And it's pink because my light in my room is weird. But if I just
So how am I doing this? How am I doing this when I bring it in?
You would take a picture with your phone.
Okay, I see. And then, okay, download and then pick it up. Okay.
Yeah. I would do the same thing. Like I would take a picture with my phone,
Mm-hmm.
and then you easily can send it to your, what type of phone do you have?
iPhone. No, I know how to do. This is how I've been doing them.
Yeah.
But when you use snipping tool, I thought, what am I supposed to do the snipping tool?
Oh yeah, I'm just using the snipping tool. But see how I just drew it with a marker?
Yeah.
It looks so good.
And you're
like
using
that.
image trace?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then once you do these little guys, you can, this is where I use either the library.
Mm-hmm.
So you set up a library just for your project.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now, every time I open library, I see all my stuff, like all of them. Is that okay?
well, you want to start a new one. So, when you have a library that already has something in it, start a new one. So just click on the drop down,
Okay.
go to create new library.
Okay.
You can call it final project.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just grab it. Oops, I grabbed a piece of it. I didn't want to do that.
Did you go plus on the bottom?
Yeah, you can hit plus, or you can just drag and drop it. The one thing I would do is make sure you get rid of like, only select like the black. So what I can do is grab a piece of this with the selection tool or the direct selection tool, and then go into select, and then select same, fill and stroke.
Mm-hmm.
And then just to make it easier, I go back into select, I hit inverse, and then I hit delete, because that deletes the inverse of the black, and then it only gives me the black outline, and it deleted the white, and then you can just drag it.
Mm-hmm.
And should have went in there.
You're answering last week's question.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's kind of last week's. Yeah, so now when I go back in here,
Mm-hmm.
all you want to do is make sure you're on the image, and have a layer just for images,
Mm-hmm.
and lock those other layers. I don't know why they're in. And then drag that. Do you have a potato in here? Oh, there's your potato.
Mm-hmm.
Drag it in there.
Mm-hmm.
Size it up however you want to size it.
Perfect. Awesome.
And
I need to learn
it's
this
faster if you just draw them, in my opinion. So, I mean, what do you guys think? It has a different style to it because it's more of a hand-drawn look.
You mean draw them separately, each one of them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just use a nice marker that has thickness to it. That helps out a lot.
Perfect. And then do I need to color them or no? Not necessarily.
If you want to color them, yeah, you could color them. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure if you color them, only get rid of the outside white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it might be hard to color them because anyway, I'll deal with that.
The thing about this one, if there's gaps in your drawing,
Mm-hmm.
that's where you have to use the live paint tool. So you go, you make sure you select the artwork, actually get rid of the white, that's fine. Go into object, live paint, make, then go into the live paint tool and use the paint bucket, and then, select those different pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And here I got it under color, just one thing. I have to make sure it's set to under color here. I just got to make sure I go to and set it to RGB.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can colorize.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so play with that.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too is when you draw it, make sure things connect nicely. If you have gaps, it's just harder with the live paint tool because you can control the gap size when you go into object, live paint gap options.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say I can use these large gaps. So now when I use my paint bucket here, yeah, it's selecting the pieces in a different way because it's selecting those large gaps.
I'm so sorry. Take him, Sarah. Take him.
So, yeah. So, anyways.
Okay. And when you talk about gap, are you talking about the line, like the where you? Yeah, this line, is it disconnected?
Yeah. See how it's not connected.
Mm-hmm.
But when you use that live paint tool, if you hover over it and you have the gaps set to large gaps,
Mm-hmm.
it will look for areas that are disconnected and connect them for you.
Wow.
So you can paint these areas even though there is a gap.
And on the other side also there's a part.
Yeah, but see this side, that gap here
Mm-hmm.
is too large.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not recognizing it. So you can go back in here too.
Mm-hmm.
If I select this, go into live paint, gap options, and you can go into custom and maybe make it bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Hit OK. But sometimes I notice that doesn't necessarily work. It's like you can't really, even if you make it bigger, it still doesn't work. So that's where you have to maybe adjust the artwork.
I see. Okay.
That's why when I say draw it,
Mm-hmm.
at first, make sure you think about those gaps in your
Yeah.
pen drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So, yeah, I mean, just go ahead and start creating all those little plants.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So, all right. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Ugly Sunset? Who's Ugly Sunset? Is that Joey or I'm trying to forget? I don't know what that one is. Okay, so let's see who else has drawings. Caesar. Let's so you had two. Two options. So what is yours about, Caesar? I don't know if you're texting me. Let's see. So you had this one, and you had this one. So what does everybody think? What do you think is the best one out of the group here? What do you guys recommend for Caesar? I already picked my favorite. First, Caesar, what is this about? I don't know if he hears me. So what do you guys think? Which one do you prefer out of this?
I like the one on the left, but without the lines.
The
You
one
can possibly use the background as like the outer space with some sparkles and light stuff.
you like this one?
Yeah.
I like that one too.
Alexis and Charles, you both like this one then. Why do you like this one better than this one?
Because it takes a bigger focus on the symbol, the main object. And also he has opportunity for the background to be, the bottom part could be earth with a lighter tone, and as it goes up with like the gradient, it could be outer space with sparkles.
Oh,
or
okay.
with stars in the background. And then these can also be like a milestone for the spaceship to climb. The
Yeah.
bosses.
All right.
I like the right one because it might be like in motion, as if
Yeah, I think I like the right one because it feels like it tells a story.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like a journey from point A to point B.
Yeah.
The left one is probably good if it's about a timeline where something happened at a certain time and a progression, then maybe this one is better because the timeline is more obvious. Here
Yeah,
it's a little
he
less
wrote
obvious.
about it.
Did he? My topic is about space travel history or the process that it takes to trace. Oh, okay. That the process that it takes to space travel, still deciding on which direction to go. So, okay. So I think both have like merit. I think if you have more dates, then definitely the left one is going to be better. Because like you were saying, Charles, you can fit more information in this kind of setup with a timeline, where on the right side, it's a little bit more difficult to add a lot more information on this one because of everything that's taking up space. So, all
I
right.
think if he does choose the right one, he could do kind of like a shoots and ladder style with the timeline as well, with boxes over it to show the progression.
Yeah, that's why I kind of like that kind of style for something like this, where there's a path and something's traveling along that path. I think that's really interesting. So that that has a nice kind of story arc in a way from beginning to end. And the eye can travel along that, so it has a nice flow to it. So that can be one advantage of using the curve with the spaceship going from point A to point B. So yeah, I think that's it's going to be interesting. I think it all has to do with how much information you have. So the more information, I think the one on the left, but if you want something that is compelling with the images telling a story, then the one on the right would be my choice. So anybody else? Any other suggestions? So Charles, do you have a sketch? Since you've been commenting.
Yeah, my sketch is in Discord.
Oh, it's in Discord. Oh, which one is yours? Who are you on Discord? Are you Ugly Sunset?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. All right, let me copy this one. Okay, so is this Africa?
No, it's just a object. It might be a person, but I just needed to draw something there.
It looks like a continent of some sort.
Yeah, so my topic was the problems and solutions for the African American male. From the title, subtitle, and context area is actually will have a background picture with each box having its own filter level, color level, and the object will be a part of it for the top half, but then the bottom half will be cut off, and then on the background of the problems will be a solid color with its own level of tone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're still deciding on what that object's going to be?
Yeah, maybe a person with a background. Maybe he's in the city or something.
Yeah, I think the style of that's going to be the most important part of it. Like, what style do you create that object in? It's almost like if you study maybe like protest posters throughout history, maybe you'll find a good idea there. I just looked up a bunch. So the fist is very common. I think the one that you
closet
see,
right here. Do you see the green one over here?
the green one.
At the second row on the far left, you see how the background is there and the person is cut out at the bottom half and is a solid color behind it. It will be similar to that.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, if you kind of use this as a reference, and maybe even the sign too is part of your headline. You know what I mean? Put maybe that something goes in there. It'd be good to find out who she is. I mean, but you're kind of focusing on marginalized men, right?
Yes.
Versus women. So, but still, that's a good look. But then how would you stylize it? Do you understand what I mean? Like, I think a lot of the posters that I see have a woodcut type feel sometimes, like the fist. And like that look. Shepard Fairey is really interesting too for inspiration. If you're familiar with his posters.
Yeah, he's famous for his Obama.
Yeah, the
Hope
poster. Poster. Yeah, here it is right here. But he got in trouble with that. Remember how he got in trouble?
A long time ago, he got in trouble with vandalizing something.
He took the picture of Obama from a photo, and I think the photographer sued him.
Yeah, that's kind of common nowadays.
Yeah, so
celebrities get sued by pictures that they didn't think about themselves.
But yeah, I like this idea, you know, having the figure holding something, silhouetting. So that's too maybe like
a white border.
Have your silhouette. Have your wife take a picture of you holding up a piece of paper, and then use your own silhouetted image. How do you feel about that?
That could work.
You know what I mean? Because it's you, right?
No, it wouldn't be me. It would be probably somebody younger than me.
But still, nobody's gonna. I mean, you know what I mean? They're not gonna. You can kind of play with your age a little bit in terms of the illustration.
Okay.
You know, because you are being slightly like autobiographical in this, right? Because you even explained that you felt like, you know, that college would be too difficult, and that was kind of the preconceived notion that many Black males have. That's why they don't even think about it being an option for them, right? Until you actually did it, and then you were like, you know, it wasn't as bad as you thought it was, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So anyways, I mean, that's just an idea. Because I just, you know, you just have to be careful about when it comes to people, whose silhouette do you use, right? That's kind of like Shepard Fairey's challenge that he ran into. So anyways, even like stuff like this, I think is really interesting. The overlapping flags. I always like that overlapping section. So it's very simple, but still graphically it has impact. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there to work off of. So
when you say very simple, the overlapping, are you just making copies and then like put them over the overlapping them?
Yeah, it's using that divide pathfinder again, just like I did with the type for Rosio. Yeah. Same idea, where you're just the intersection becomes a different color, but visually, you know, it just has a little bit of interest to it.
Mhm.
You know, it kind of draws the eye and creates the pattern
Mhm.
that can be kind of compelling. But the shapes, the concept itself is simple. You know, just the flag with the text, but at the same time, because it's so graphic,
And you see the
Roger,
pole, like
Roger,
part of it is white, part of it is black.
yeah, that black and white overlap.
The pole.
Yeah, even with the poles, yeah, the whole thing.
Mhm.
So the way this could have been done too, you just need really one flag and you modify each one slightly, and then you do divide and then you fill. Yeah, so it's
Pathfinder.
Pathfinder and divide,
Mhm.
using divide.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, so Charles, you just have to begin the process then. So I think your layout is going to be really important. How you think about the composition of the layout. You know, if this hero image does belong here, and how much text you're going to have. And I think your problems, you should really think about the font that you're using for these problems.
Okay.
Because that kind of tells the story. So, okay. Any other thoughts? Any other suggestions for Charles? All right, cool. Yeah, I think I'm really kind of excited. I'm looking forward to see what you come up with for this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so who else wants to show something?
Submitting in my mute.
Oh, is that Joey?
Yeah, I'll submit a picture. I'm just trying to finish up like some stuff.
Did you do you have a sketch?
Yeah, I'm almost done with it. I'll have it posted in a few minutes.
Okay, yeah, send it to me in Discord. Christian, do you have something?
Yeah, I'm working on uploading it right now to Discord. Should be
Okay.
up in a couple minutes.
And then Vivian, do you have something? So Vivian, do you hear me? So okay, yeah, I'll wait for you, Christian. So if you have something you want to, as you're progressing too, you can keep on uploading them to Discord, and I can keep on adding my comments to them. So, I mean, technically today is our last class, right? And next week is finals week. What I would like to do is have a group critique on Thursday. So, you know, submit for everything for Thursday. But really the last day for me to grade is going to be on Sunday. So I think that is, today's the 4th. I think you have till like the 13th. So just try to get as much as you can done. If for some reason you can't hand something in on Thursday, but at the same time, I would just keep on work on it, in sections. So you got the sketch, starting to work on the vectors. Maybe the part you want to do is like just typography, lay out the type in the font that you want to do, and then work on those vector elements, and then bring everything together, make sure everything's separated nicely on layers, and then refine the composition. But as you're progressing, show it to me in phases, and that way I can kind of make comments on it as you go, and hopefully, just kind of push you along the finish. Let's see. So,
I just uploaded.
oh, okay. All right. Oh, cool. This is the screen printing idea. So, let's see. So, okay. So you're going to have like supplies going across the top. So here with some of these like drawings, you can kind of do what I'm suggesting that Randa does. Do another version where you just use drawing out everything using like a nice thick pen, and do image traces for these different things. The only thing, my one suggestion, Christian, is don't include the lines separating everything.
Okay.
Have step 1, step 2, and step 3, step 4,
Looks
step
a little
5. Yeah, and if you have the images and the text together, you don't need the lines because the lines will be inferred by the fact that everything's kind of grouped up together. But in terms of your process, to make it as easy as possible, I would draw out each of the steps. Or if you want, you can, well, I want to make sure that everything's readable.
Yeah.
And that, so prepare the screen. Is that where when you say prepare the screen, what is that process?
So like to coat the screen.
And what are you preparing it with?
Emotion.
So, oh, okay. So yeah, just add those details. Prepare the screen, coat with a layer of emulsion. And then when you burn the image, what type of paper do you put it on?
It's vellum paper.
So does the light kind of go through the paper and the actual image on the vellum gets blocked out? Yeah, just make sure your explanations are clear, as you explain it. And yeah, I like the supplies, how you have it set up. So each one of these supplies can be like a little, icon reference. But again, if you want to make it easier on yourself, just draw things out. Take a photo of it with your phone, send it to the computer, do an image trace, and use that for each piece of artwork. So any questions about that? Any other suggestions for Christian? So okay, so that looks good. So who else has something to show? Oh, okay, here. So Joey?
I sent them on Discord.
Yeah. Let's see. So what is your ways to take care of yourself amidst the terrible year? Oh, okay. So do you want to describe this any more detail?
Yeah, sure. I also put like the important info in boxes, but I was thinking, maybe like this neat little infographic, but it also had like, this linear path that you could follow, and it would just have some tips on, how to take care of yourself, how to be more productive, I guess. Just stuff I learned while, in quarantine.
Yeah, I like the flow of again, it's like the chutes and ladder type idea, but I like having that path.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think yeah, just have nice details with your different sections.
I definitely have an idea for the palette. I might start off dark and then have it, gradually brighten to like
Oh,
a
okay.
different color palette. Yeah. Like these are just some ideas that I'm spitballing and I haven't actually put onto paper yet, but they're just some things that I'm throwing around.
Yeah, okay. That's a good idea. Yeah, maybe have white type on black, let's say, or
Yeah, white on black type first, and then like around the end it'll be like black type on white background.
yeah, to
Just
make sure you
stuff
pick
like
a
that.
really nice font then too for this header.
Oh, of course. I've got a few in mind.
Yeah, or use, make sure you guys, when you do fonts, font research, use Adobe fonts, and just go to their
Yeah.
font website and research a couple different fonts.
Typekit has a bunch of very good fonts.
Yeah, go to Typekit, maybe pick a couple options, and then, maybe even like share those options with me, and then I can give you my opinion.
Where do we search for fonts?
Typekit.
Yeah, you can go to Typekit and research your fonts in Typekit. I think here. You can also go to fonts.adobe.com.
And how do we bring them in?
Well, if I go here to fonts.adobe.com, then I can go here. Now I'm in Typekit. And actually, I'm going to go to, let's see, I'm going to go to Browse. Go to Browse Fonts. And then you can start to look at fonts you like. Let's say you do like a handwritten look. Let's say I like this uppercut angle. I can go to View. And then you just have to activate it. So once you find what you like, you just click Activate. And with the Creative Cloud, you click Activate. So that font, uppercut, will appear in Illustrator. It might take a couple seconds, but it should appear in here. So it usually, sometimes it does take a while. If you go to More from Adobe Fonts 2, it takes you to the same spot. So if you're already in Illustrator, go to More, and it will take you into this same area. If you go into the character palette as well, you can help narrow down the most recent fonts that you load. So type character here, and then when you open this up, if I click on Show Activated Fonts, and let's see, recently added, actually, the little clock, it should show me that font that I just added, but still, it takes a while sometimes for that to work. But yeah, that's how you do it, Randa. You just go into Adobe Fonts,
Mm-hmm.
Find what you like and click activate.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So anybody else have anything to share? So Joey, yeah, it's a good idea. So just, kind of get as much as you can done, push through it.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
It's a, very, yeah, yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
And Alexis, you have something else?
Yeah, so that's what I'm starting off with the colors
Oh, okay.
and the layout. But I know you said that you like the longer version. Of course,
Yeah.
I'm not going to use that font, but those are the kind of the colors that I'm going to go for.
Yeah, that's a very, matcha color, matcha green tea background. Yeah, that's
Okay.
good. Yeah, and I like how you're keeping it simple with, 6 colors. So,
Yeah.
so that's a good way to go. Like everybody should make sure that they keep their color palette simple. 6, 7 colors. Don't go too crazy. Try to make sure you're not overworking yourself with this too, right? That's why I suggest drawing things and doing image traces. If you're more comfortable using the pen tool, that's fine. But for the sake of time too, it might be better just to draw it out and draw it out like this and then image trace. So just be aware of the time that you have, and what are some of the tricks that you can develop to make this go faster. So then Vivian, I was I don't know if you heard me from before. Let me check.
Hey Joe, I just
Oh.
sent a little sketch right now.
Oh, okay. So let's see. Oh, cool. Okay. So I would make that, like, is that just like a coffee cup? A cup of coffee or a coffee pot?
A cup. It's supposed to be just a cup with the hot coffee in there.
I think here, maybe make this nice and big. Maybe put it in the lower left-hand corner. It'd be kind of fun to have your steam rise up, and maybe that becomes part of the title.
Those things on the left, I don't know if you can tell what they are, but they're supposed to be coffee beans.
Yeah, no, I can tell.
Okay.
Like, I can understand what you're getting at. So, you maybe, instead of just having them on the left too, maybe you kind of have them throughout, kind of sprinkle them out throughout the piece. Because sometimes, if you have something that's like right across the edge like that, it kind of makes the page a little off balance in a way. You have too much weight with the imagery on the left side and then nothing on the right side. So just trying to figure out how you can balance out the composition.
Okay, I did think of like just throwing the coffee beans around, but I didn't know that was just going to be too much going on.
I think what you have to figure out is how much text you have for each section. And then if you know how much text you have, then you'll be able to figure out where the gaps are. Meaning if you don't have a lot of information, then you may have to have something to balance that out in a way. You don't want like too much white, you want to think about white space, but you want to think about like gaps as well. If there's like any gaps in the information. So trying to ensure that everything is readable and has some sort of compositional like integrity with the design as well. So I think making this coffee mug bigger will add a little bit of variety to it. And then thinking about, even with the headers, you may want to stagger it. Maybe you have Ethiopia here, Kenya's to the left, Colombia's to the Kenya's to the right, Colombia's to the left, and create some sort of rhythm with that, so it's not all uniform.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
So okay, and then make sure, yeah, try to send me versions as you go.
Okay.
I think it's good to send versions because it kind of, instead of you trying to force yourself to do it all at one time, you do a little bit at a time and send me like progress.
Okay, so once I change it up, I can just send it to you again on Discord?
Yeah, just send it to me on Discord. I think that's the easiest way.
Okay. Alrighty, thank you.
You're welcome. So anybody else then with any other thoughts or things you want to add or show? Okay, so yeah, and if for any reason that you know you feel like you're getting stuck, you need help with something, then we can do a one-on-one meeting, and you know, just give yourself enough time and show me, you know, I think if you show me progress, it will help you finish because I can give you advice to push you along. But they're all good ideas, and I look forward to seeing the final final product from each one of you. And yeah, so that's all I really have to say for tonight. And just keep me, you know, keep me aware of how you progress. I think that's going to be important as you finish this. So that's it. And then basically I'll send out a Zoom for Thursday, and that will be our final critique. But if for any reason you feel like you can't finish by then, you still have some time.
How about Tuesday? We don't have a class?
No, because with finals week, like next week is finals week, and with finals week you only have the one class, and that's your critique. So technically tonight is the last class.
Okay.
But like I said, if you want to show me like what you're doing or you have questions, let me know, and then you know I can help you. But I think it's good to show me progress through Discord as well, so I can help you, you know, just kind of push you along as I see the progress that you're taking.
How fast can you post this one?
This video? I can post it tonight. So I can post it to you tonight. That's fine.
I mean, tomorrow is fine too if you don't have time tonight.
Yeah, it just depends on how good I am at staying awake after the class.
No, it's okay. Tomorrow is fine also.
So,
you don't have to send it to me.
So okay, well I'll see.
Okay.
So, all right, guys. Well, keep on working then, and then I will talk to you next week. But again, if you want to talk to me anytime in between, then just you know, it's not a problem.
Thank you so much.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yep.
See you later.
Bye.
All right.
You're in the